My name is Mark Boling. I'm a jazz guitar player. Taught at the University of Tennessee for 38 years. Ended up there as coordinator of jazz studies program and got to teach along with some great faculty and taught some students that really were exceptional, and I'm proud of that. And live here in Knoxville, play around town a lot. And occasionally I get a chance to go do some tours and places. In the last couple of years, it's been slow, but I've been to Cairo and Poland this year. And a few years ago, we were going to China. So I'm getting to tour and travel a little bit. So that's fun.
All right. So do you remember what your earliest memories of music was?
Probably reaching up to the piano. And see, my mom's piano somebody had put little marks on them where middle C was, so like little pencil marks. So I figured out where that was, and I just start figuring out melodies from on the piano. But I'm sure it was I was hearing my parents playing records of they weren't really jazz fans. It's more like musicals, stuff from Great American Songbook by way of the musical plays.
Do you remember any songs or records in particular that they used to play?
I can't think of one from my very young childhood, but I know that probably when I was an early teenager, they were listening to like Barbra Streisand. She'd do the show tunes, but then she was doing a lot of jazz standards too, and had some great arrangers and some jazz bands. So I did hear that, although I didn't really go for it at the time. It was an influence, but maybe subconscious influence. Because by that time I was already listening to Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and all the rock stuff.
All right, and with these questions, feel free to elaborate as much as you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what made you want to play the guitar?
Probably like almost everybody else my age, seeing the Beatles on TV. On the Ed Sullivan Show, that made an impression, and I was kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then some of our friends, we were visiting some family friends or something, they had a guitar, and I just picked it up, and I was like, figured out a couple of little melodies up and down the string, and I was like, oh, this is not too hard. So little did I know it really is pretty hard, but it was interesting to me.
Oh, yeah. And do you remember at what point you decided that you were gonna do music full time?
Probably, and this is probably a watershed moment for a lot of people. Around 1971, I went to, of course, there was rock concerts happening all the time, and I went to hear a band from, I guess they were based out of Georgia at that point, a band called the Allman Brothers Band, which was really one of the first jam bands, and they were, deeply rooted in the blues, and hearing them with Duane Allman, and just, they would do like these 15, 20-minute extended instrumental improvisations, and I was kind of blown away by that, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that.